Hello, Internet. This is Kapten Pansel once again. You with Haffisz and Adi here. This is a new episode for New Week. And Adi, just one trivia question to you. Which one is older, Harvard University or the United States of America?
That would be Harvard University, the oldest education institution in America, even older than the United States of America itself. What a very storied history of this. And may I say, entering a new chapter, a very interesting chapter in its very long history. What would that chapter look like, Hafiz?
Well, this is there's a beef going on between the oldest institutions in America and current President Donald Trump, which is frozen the 2.2 billion. Mostly these are for research grant for the research that's been carried out by the universities. And then some of the reasons that were given for this is they ignore the requests from the White House to fulfill certain lists. Let's go through the list while we are having this conversation. But one of them is about foreign students. So they want a certain requirement to be. They want a full list of all these foreign students. Otherwise, no money to the university, which is again the president of university Harvard would say like this is not legal to do so. What's your take, Adi?
Well, where do we even begin? I think this is just one part of Donald Trump's administration on its attacks on private educational institutions, some of which are Ivy League schools. Harvard was not the first, and I don't think the last victim of or being on the president's sides. Columbia University also was under attack.
They cave in.
They caved in and had no choice but to cave in to a lot of the demands, some of which regarding protesting. And this is in response to a lot of what the administration called a show of anti-Semitism happening on campus. Now, anti-Semitism, I think, is rife everywhere. And I think that if you're at your own prerogative to be a bigot or whatever, right? But the way they say anti-Semitism came at the time when Columbia University students are protesting for the stoppage of violence in Gaza, protesting against the violence committed by the state of Israel onto the innocent Palestinian people. So that apparently is seen as anti-Semitic. And I believe the charging cry that was gave the ammunition for the administration was the whole slogan of "From the River to the Sea," saying that that is a anti-Semitic quote, saying that it is calling for the complete and utter erasure of the state of Israel. Now, you can debate that all you want, but regardless, this was the impetus for which the Trump administration went after Columbia University, among things such as the accusation that the programs conducted by universities, not just Columbia, but Harvard as well, is somehow being infiltrated by Chinese elements. It is also pushing a leftist agenda, a very, the whole DEI woke, the whole culture war agenda is being pushed as subjects in these universities. So that was also part of the ideological bend that the administration is going after. Now, where do I think of this? I think, right, any university always tries to advance the fields that it is, especially when it comes to top universities like Harvard, Columbia. They are always on the pushing the envelope when it comes to research, when it comes to academia, and I believe when it comes to all these DEI, progressive agendas, right? That I feel is just a natural continuation, evolution of that. You can argue how you see that, but any kind of institution, academic ones, would always try to push the envelope when it comes to academic progress and new ideas, new theories, and all that kind of stuff. Now, this is very awkward as well because for at least the last 60, 70 decades, these institutions and the US government has always had a very intimate relationship with one another. They've had very intimate relationships when it comes to medical research, when it comes to ballistics, when it comes to satellite and space traveling technology. These are all pioneered and innovated by all these top academic institutions, which the US government and these institutions enjoy. They've enjoyed this kind of relationship, working relationship, where all the innovations that comes out of Harvard, that comes out of Columbia, Brown University, all these things are always somehow of a top priority and interest for the US government here, right? So in a way, they are shooting their own their own guarantee of prosperity or their own guarantee of development. That is just what I'm going to touch on the surface, but I'll let you continue, Haffiz.
Yeah, exactly. I just want to pick up on your point. The economic advantage that universities are having right now is the fruit lever by all these universities. They're pushing the envelopes, like you mentioned just now. Through research, all of this economic, whatever quantum computer that we are in right now, and to lose out on country like China will be a calamity for United States. And to just freeze this kind of funds to all this kind of Ivy League university is just helping a country like China to leapfrog United States in the future or even right now. So these are kind of what are being put forward by the president of Harvard University, that the danger it could happen here to the establishments like Harvard here. And also Adi, like I want to bring in a different angle here, because someone argued that these are not really about Trump or the university Harvard itself. It's not even about anti-Semitics, but it's all about the left and right here, because all that we know of that Harvard is a mecca for those in the liberal, or like you mentioned the word woke, right? These are the super woke. If people on Twitter are woke, people in Harvard is super woke. So this is what Elon Musk and Trump try to fight on a different end. And Harvard just seems to be a good start, because Harvard has one of the largest endowment fund in America, at least. It's really big for a university. Like we mentioned, the university started in 1636. It's been a long time that they do sort of investments. So 52 billion is, they deserve it. If you've been investing for 300 over years, you deserve to have 52 billions in the endowment fund. But more importantly is that Trump wants to see how long Harvard can last, using their own fund or whatever, and go and stay still in their fights of being woke or in the left side of the political spectrum. Because as we know, Trump really go all angle. Now we see universities. Maybe next one is army institutions, or next one is other businesses. Because Trump sees everything as a transactional business exchange. You give me what I want, I give you what I want. What is your price? I'll tell you my price. So that's actually what was happening. We see the content of the letter, right? Like it's actually a letter of demand, require Harvard to do list, so on and so forth. And then we see how Harvard did not give in, just like Columbia, because maybe they know in the back of their head, like, okay, we have that 52 billion that maybe we can last for a few years. If you want to continue with this, Trump just going to last for another, 4-5 years. We can weather this out, but maybe that's not very ideal if you are one of the sitting in the board for Harvard University. So I think this is where the game is, and Trump really pushing Harvard University here to see what is the move next by Harvard University, because they can just do what Columbia did. Just give in, like whatever Trump wants, and they get everything that they want. They probably get even more out of this, but at what price? And that is very interesting.
I think when touching on the endowment, I think they have an endowment of about 53 billion US dollars. Very rich university, but I think that endowment, I think, comes from the donors, from its very, very decorated, very elite alumni. But I don't know how much access does the university have in actually making use of the endowment. Do they have a provision for the endowment to be used for, let's say, budget shortfalls, just in case that the U.S. grant from the government that does not come through? Will that be used to bolster or to act as a bulkhead? That one, I'm not too sure. And if that's the case, then that would be very concerning when it comes to operational expenditure moving forward here. But I think when it comes to the endowment, I believe J.D. Vance also was proposing having an endowment tax, because a lot of these education institutions, they they get tax exemption from the way that they generate money. So to be able to, I think JD Vance proposed a bill to have a endowment tax rate, which would give the federal government millions, right? So of course that is a way to make money for the federal government in that way. A great way to suck out some money, a way to make some money out of that. But regardless, here, um, we talk about the angle when it comes to the whole culture war that America seems to be very obsessed with fighting, right? I'm don't really care about those kinds of things. I think in a way that that's up their business to engage in that. But regardless, it affects. I'm bringing this conversation towards the idea that without the proper support that Harvard has enjoyed from the government, right, it does not make it a very conducive environment to learn, right? A conducive environment to actually go there to study, because I think out of all the top universities in the world, right, Harvard is always on every young person's list to go and study, right? I'm sure it's a crowning jewel for any young person to go and study there, and to go to study there, it means that you'll be set for life in a way, right? I mean, we even have Sabahans and Malaysian Harvard graduates as well. One of them, politician, deputy chief minister, Harvard graduate for his masters. But you see, right, the allure that Harvard has, right, and to diminish that diminishes the ability for international students all across the world to go study at one of the greatest institutions, right, academic institutions, right. So that is not just a loss for us, like say, because I think we last year we sent about 4 from Malaysia to Harvard to study there. Not just a loss for us Malaysians to have that opportunity, right, to have that excellent education, but also for America themselves as well, because I believe a lot of international students go to Harvard hoping that they can also migrate to the US as well, to contribute to the US. And this is not a insignificant number of international students that go to Harvard. They are about 27% of the student body of Harvard. So you have almost more than a quarter of students coming from international, from outside America. And they now not being able to come, not be able to contribute, not being able to, contribute in terms of tuition dollars, all the support and lodgings and all that contributes to the local economy there. That would be a missed opportunity when it comes to funding, but also a net loss when it comes to talent as well. Because I don't think Harvard got as far as it did by being insulated, by just keeping students within the United States, right? It also got to where it is because of its international alumni as well, because of the openness that it takes from people all over the world, the writers all over the world, to funnel them into this education institution, right? So that is a loss of innovation as well for America. But we can think of it this way as well. Now we see universities all across the world as well now scrambling to see how can we attract this amazing talent over to them as well. Because I believe it's the Secretary of Homeland Security, Kristi Noem, that I think they've revoked already the overseas students and visa programs for them. So all these international students have to find to be transferred outside of the United States. And who's offering, who's actually lining up to offer? China, Hong Kong, Singapore, even Malaysia here at Autonomy University. They're offering all these talents to come to study, alternatively. Of course, we may not be able to provide the best infrastructure and all that, but regardless, right? The talent, so it's the talent is going to be moving elsewhere. The talent is going to be migrating to other institutions, and that is, I think, one man's trash is another man's treasure, right? Kind of scenario. So maybe we can start looking at this way as well.
Yes, totally right, Adi. 1 in 4 staff or students in the University of Harvard is foreign students, and one of them is future princess of Belgium. So it's not just like you mentioned, right? Like even one of our Sabah politicians was a student, is an alumni there. So this is also can become a diplomatic problem, because we know a lot, not just Belgium, a lot of other countries as well, sending their next kin of whatever heir to the throne, or just leaders from various countries sending their children to this Ivy League universities. So it could be potentially that as well. So like I echo what you mentioned, the problematic, the talent that would be a problem. Other man trash is another man's treasure. It's totally true. A lot of other universities would be, opening red carpets to all this, those who get rid of the university to go to their university instead, especially in the UK or Western Europe kind of university. So that's that. Secondly, about, I don't know, I would like to look at this as how the institution in America is. We can see the structure now, like how independent. Yeah, I mean, Harvard University as a private institution receive grants from federal government. Yes, they do receive it, but structurally they are still private institutions. So the endowment fund that they have is still theirs, but it's just financially they have some kind of aid from the government. But apart from that, they run as a private company that make profits or whatnot. So you can see it's very dynamic structure that they have in America. It's that it shows you that who's in the authority, who's hold the autonomy of deciding what things and other things can use to your own government, where you get your money from. That's unimaginable to happen in Malaysia. In Malaysia, we still have kind of just try to bring back this conversation to Malaysia, right? How universities following to the letter what the government of the day has to say on certain policy, on certain things. It's unimaginable in Malaysia that we have a private or public institution to stand on their ground, to stand on the students' ground about anything. Because university is where all these talents, where ideas are clash with other people. This is the arena of debates. This is the agora for young people, like, I don't know, for Anwar during his days. That's what he made of University Malaya. I'm sure Rafizi did the same with Rafizi in the UK. So yeah, that's different. But you know what I mean, right? In Malaysia, while we look at it, like we look at the details of Trump versus Harvard here, but what we should learn from this is that the autonomy on deciding not just funds, but other things as well, the rights to gather in front, to protest, to voice your dissent on certain things of the government, saying these are part and parcel, Adi, as a not just a student, but as a human being, young human beings that wants to venture out there in life, and the world is just full of it. So this is, I think, more, I think, relatable for Malaysians here to see what is Harvard. It's not just university, and this is why Harvard is regarded as one of the top class, or not even the number one university in the world, because they can even fight their own government. Can other university have the right to say that? That would be another question.
Yeah, and I think when it comes to choice of university and choice for Malaysians to go study abroad, I know the trend historically has always been the UK. I myself was sent over to the UK along with many, many, many other Malaysian students. And I think the trend back then, before that, was to go to Australia. But there's always been that amount, those people, that happen to go to the United States of America to go study, and usually go to study in very prestigious universities themselves as well.
Do you know any other Malaysian Harvard alumni?
Personally, no.
No, just anyone. No? All right.
No. I mean, the ones that get featured on the news and all that for accepting. I mean, but the fact is that they get on national news to be recognized. And then, like I said, last year we had 4 Malaysian students accepted out of 6,800 international students to go to Harvard, right? To show that's talent, They're, of course, they might be on scholarship and being bonded to government, regardless, right? The fact is that we have very good Malaysians, right? Very talented Malaysians, local people who can contribute a great deal. And with talent, that has to be nurtured, right? Where else to nurture that than one the better education institutions like Harvard? I do hope that they will be able to pursue that in just as equally good educational institutions elsewhere, right? They possibly the UK, as traditionally speaking, a lot of Malaysian students tend to go to UK if they have the scholarship or if they have the financial capacity to do so, or even Australia. Usually, these are the very typical choices when it comes to sending your children overseas. But regardless, that kind of exposure is also just as important, right? It's also important to expose yourself to different perspectives, different worldviews, and at a melting pot space such as Harvard, Oxford, or whatever. Those are perfect opportunities for anyone from any foreigner, any foreign student to pick up new perspectives, new ideas, debate it, have it be challenged, and all those great stuff that hones the ideas perfectly. And I think moving on from that, another point I think I want to also bring up here, last point I think before we wrap up, is that Donald Trump's populism also being disseminated or disseminating itself into this whole rhetoric here, because he did say in a tweet that, oh, I'm reconsidering taking out the grant and putting it into trade schools, right? That is a very easy populist rhetoric to show that I'm part of the working class. I'm going to be sympathetic and sensitive to the working man, to the working class, not these elite educational institutes where they on their ivory tower looking down at people who kind of make it there, right? So that is a very strategic move as well on his part. I'm going to go after these elite liberal institutions, and I'm going to funnel it over to the hardworking class of America, because that the backbone of America is from the working class. But these things aren't mutually exclusive, right? Strong working class as well, and an educated elite is just as important to support one another, right? These are the pillars of society. That's important. Of course, you can come to the argument of wealth distribution, all that. But regardless, I think I don't know, when it comes to distribution of wealth and in America, I know there's a call saying that the income disparity gap is getting wider and wider. So that is more of a larger problem for the president to address, and using this as a symptom of addressing that symptom that I don't think is going to do anyone any favors, right? Like you want to fund a trade school, it's very good. We're also doing that the same thing, right? With all the TVET, STEM, TVET focus, right? But we cannot forego other things as well. We cannot be always course correcting all the time very, very hard, right? You can course correct mild little steps, right? That's how governance works. You do it little by little, and eventually the results will show. Much like the relationship that the government has had with Harvard for the past few decades after the post-war, right? The innovation that America has brought into the world, right? We have to admit, technologically very far superior, and all that is fueled by these educational institutions, and they usually get funneled into security and defense and all that, and military spending. Regardless, right, it still comes from a root. Most of the time it is in these institutes.
Well, Adi, can you just imagine, like, if most of these foreign students of Harvard, they got, deported, and China through Tsinghua University would open up like, hey, come to our university, all of you, for free. That would be a mental response from China. It's just showing like, hey, we're playing, it's truly a game that if China just do that, it would be amazing to see the reaction from the Harvard University. It's like, look at this, you did this, all this loss due to you. And of course, we're gonna keep our eye on this saga as well. It's not gonna solve anytime soon. But we are moving on, Adi. Where are we moving on next?
You sort of hinted it right over there early on, so we'll let the viewers decide. But what I can say is that this is how we hope to see a lot of talent come over to Malaysia. Next episode is going to be going to Malaysia. What will it be? Catch us on the next episode.
See you in the next episode.